What are some of the creepiest declassified documents made available to the public? Project Pluto is pretty horrific. The proposed use for nuclear-powered ramjets would be to power a cruise missile, called SLAM, for supersonic low-altitude missile. In order to reach ramjet speed, it would be launched from the ground by a cluster of conventional rocket boosters. Once it reached cruising altitude and was far away from populated areas, the nuclear reactor would be made critical. Since nuclear power gave it almost unlimited range, the missile could cruise in circles over the ocean until ordered down to the deck for its supersonic dash to targets in the Soviet Union. The SLAM, as proposed, would carry a payload of many nuclear weapons to be dropped on multiple targets, making the cruise missile into an unmanned bomber. After delivering all its warheads, the missile could then spend weeks flying over populated areas at low altitudes, causing tremendous ground damage with its shock wave and fallout. When it finally lost enough power to fly and crash-landed, the engine would have a good chance of spewing deadly radiation from. I think there was a lot of creepy things that came out when the East German Stasi files were released after the Berlin Wall fell. All citizens were allowed to view their own files, and many were shocked to find out that their own relatives were informing on them because they had no choice, and various other things. A good movie about this is called Other People's Lives. I don't know that it was classified, but the audio tape recorded by the Toybox killer was leaked. David Ray was a US serial killer who tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered women with electric generators, surgical blades, saws, syringes, etc. He mounted a mirror to the ceiling so they had to watch. He had a recorded audio tape that he would play for victims once they regained consciousness for the first time. The transcript is here. The Toolbox Killers are a separate pair of serial killers who similarly raped, tortured, and killed women. They also made tape recordings of their crimes. Shirley Ledford's tape is the most well-known one. You can hear them telling her to scream, the killers breaking her elbow with a sledgehammer, and her asking to die near the end. During the trial, the killers claimed it was role-playing and only evidence of a threesome. Shirley's mother had to identify her daughter's voice on the tape. The full tape was not released, but the transcript was. Not really a document, but a case that the Soviet Union tried to hide for a while. The Nazino affair. Here is part of an eyewitness reported about it. Were trying to escape. They asked us, where's the railway? We'd never seen a railway. They asked, where's Moscow? Leningrad. They were asking the wrong people. We'd never heard of those places. We're Ostjaks. People were running away starving. They were given a handful of flour. They mixed it with water and drank it, and then they immediately got diarrhea. The things we saw. People were dying everywhere. They were killing each other on the island. There was a guard named Kostya Venikov, a young fellow. He fell in love with a girl who had been sent there and was courting her. He protected her. One day he had to be away for a while, and he told one of his comrades, take care of her, but with all the people there the comrade couldn't do much really. People caught the girl, tied her to a poplar tree, cut off her breasts, her muscles, everything they could eat, everything they were hungry, they had to eat. When Kostya came back, she was still alive. He tried to save her, but she had lost too much blood. This FBI investigative file titled Animal Mutilation. Back in the 1970s-80s, the media's attention was drawn to some anomalies taking place not only on American cattle farms, but all over the world. Cow corpses were being discovered in fields, missing organs, with surgical holes in their sides, with no blood. For a brief time, this was passed off as a strange coincidence. But eventually, the public got so worked up that the FBI commissioned an investigation. 6 months and $45,000 later, they found nothing. Nothing. No trace of a person, machine, alien, anything. Everyone was left hanging, but strangely, it died down. The reports of animal mutilations have simply stacked up since then, and to this day, there have been excess of 10,000. The Nsa and Catalog. It contains a list of capabilities which the NSA and other national security administrations have been in possession of and use for the purpose of cyber surveillance. The document was created in 2008 and was made public in 2013. The technology in this document is incredible and terrifying for the idea of privacy. If you think they don't know everything, they do. These devices are everywhere, could be in any cable, any computer, any phone, anything. How about the Filmmarillion? There was this user on 4chan called UTV who frequented the sports page and made lots of posts. Just normal posts too, nothing controversial. Anyway, he had a stalker known as the Archiver who would follow and comment every single post of UTV. After a while UTV would get sick of these comments and he'd tell him to get lost, but the Archiver would just respond to them too. Eventually he started posting his own compilations of the interactions he had with UTV all over the sports page. His final post was him confessing that the people in his life found out about his obsession and he is now being monitored. But before he goes offline he wanted to share his Filmmarillion, a 92-page document of everything he had ever made to do with UTV, and he requested that it be for UTV's eyes only. Of course that didn't stop people from opening it. Inside were post compilations of UTV's posts. Posts superimposed onto 3D models. Extensive poems and sonnets. A detailed description of how their life together would be and how UTV's funeral would pan out. I'm pretty sure there were real-life details about UTV in there as well. Upon release of the document, UTV's only response wasn't he contacted the police and went into hiding. It may or may not be documented, but is still creepy knowing this. Back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a US Navy ship was sending depth charges towards a hidden Soviet submarine. The men in the submarine thought war had broken out, and a vote was held whether or not they should take down the ship with a nuclear torpedo. 2 captains need to approve an order for the attack to happen. Both captains had approved. But a third man, Vasily Arkhipov, was given a vote as well. He voted no on the attack. Since the vote had to be unanimous, the attack was off the table. Creepy as fuck when you realize how much power men have to be able to destroy the world. In late 2017, cables between the US Embassy in Jakarta and the State Department were declassified that casually tracked the massacres of the PKI that took place in Indonesia between 1965 and 1966. Other declassified documents also reveal that a US Embassy employee gave a list of suspected communists to the Indonesian army, and all 5,000 people on the list were rounded up and killed, with many tortured. In the end, between 500,000 and 3 million people were executed. The casual indifference to political genocide expressed by US government employees is chilling. The Toybox Killer Transcripts. If you absolutely want to have your day ruined, this has to be one of the most disturbing, creepiest things ever. Serial killer David Parker Ray would play these tapes for his victims so they had an idea of what was coming and to also mentally break them. Hear the start of one tape to give you an idea. Hello there, bitch. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained. Gagged. Probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared, too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal, under the circumstances. For a little while, at least, you need to get your shit together and listen to this tape. It is very relevant to your situation. I'm going to tell you, in detail, why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you and how long you'll be here. I don't know the details of your capture, because this tape is being created July 23, 1993 as a general advisory tape for future female captives.